Good afternoon, everyone. Sharice Jervis Hill here, president and founder of Events to Remember and PR to Remember, with our podcast series, Coffee with Cher, where we dig deep with entrepreneurs. And today we have a special treat for you. I feel like this is going to be a special treat for you guys. Melissa Monte, she is the CEO and story host of Mind Love. Hello, Melissa. How are you? Welcome to Coffee with Cher.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Thank you for being here with us. So, Melissa, we have to do our little afternoon cheers. So, cheers to you.
Cheers.
Cheers and you. I have seltzer in my mug today. I did coffee early this morning and I'm buzzing. So I'm like, if I have another cup of coffee right now, that could be dangerous. So I'm having a little seltzer. So it's good. Anything exciting in your cup, Melissa?
I've actually been drinking seltzer all morning, ironically, but I am pregnant and coffee is not sitting well with me. So,
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. A little Bambino. Love it. Okay, so Melissa, tell us about your story and tell us how you got started. Take us through that journey for Mind Love.
oh wow. Well, my story starts very personally. When I look back at my life, I see that I had a lot of potential and then I disappeared in pieces. It was like little by little, I was vanishing from my own life until the day I found myself sitting in a jail cell wearing torn scrubs and pre-worn panties, obsessing how to purge my prison food. So it escalated very quickly, but that was my moment of it wasn't even the jail cell. It was the realizing that this is all I could think about despite these felony charges I had looming over me. But I
Mm,
think that's what happens when you spend years just systematically disconnecting from your body. And
mm,
so it started when I was 15. I was assaulted after blacking out at a party, and I told myself that I was fine. I had these little seeds of self-development, like mind over matter, but not enough understanding to really know how to move through something like that. And so I just kept going with my life, laughed it off, became the high achiever, and I think I got really good at performing strength.
mm.
But I think when you disconnect from yourself that early, you start collecting little survival strategies. So I was a party girl, and looking back, by all statistics, an alcoholic and an addict, but I didn't see it that way. I
Mm.
also developed a really heavy case of bulimia, and I was just training myself not to feel. Just
Wow.
keep going, stay likable, stay small, until I ended up with a guy named Matt, and he was charming and generous, and he said all the right things, and it just felt like somebody was finally sweeping me into their life and out of mine. And his dad died the weekend I met him, and my dad died when I was 19. And so I became determined to love him and understand him in a way that I didn't feel understood when I was going through all that, which was part of the reason I was spiraling so early. But his stories didn't really add up. And little by little, over the next year and a half, I found out he was cheating on me. He was had a gambling addiction, alcoholism,
Mm.
eventually meth addiction,
Oh my
until
gosh.
I realized he had a secret burglary ring and he had robbed over 50 houses, stole millions of dollars worth of things, and we were pulled over on the way to lunch, and I remember the cops coming out and like opening the trunk to find all of this jewelry. And it was this period of time where I was asking myself, how could I be so dumb?
Mm.
I could look back at all of the red flags and how all of them added up, and how I couldn't even tell this story like in a way that people would believe it because it was so crazy. And so I ended up moving to LA to rebuild my life. I didn't get a lot of jail time because it was my first, I didn't have any other record. And,
Mm.
but I did get a felony. And again, our cases were combined. I could have
Oh.
proven my innocence if I would have taken it to court because I actually had gone to Hawaii to get away from him for 2 months when he went on his biggest spree. And there were some eyewitness accounts. He was cheating on me with a sex worker and he happened to have my dog in his custody. And so it was a big, big mess,
Oh
but
my
I
gosh,
could have
Melissa.
proven my innocence. But if I did that, he would have had to go to trial too, and he would have been guaranteed 10 years. And I was so used to giving him everything that I gave him my freedom too.
Oh.
So I was in LA trying to figure out how I was going to get the kind of success I always expected for my life. I mean, I grew up AP student on the dean's list. Like, I believed I was going to be very successful. And I couldn't just settle. And so I decided to teach myself internet marketing. And I would be, at the time, I was on a lot of Adderall and I was like up all night teaching myself from these black hat forums. I ended up winning a contest, a traffic and conversion summit, back when they were still in Austin before San Diego. Now it's one of the biggest summits in the world for digital marketing. I won the Wicked Smart competition after that, which set up my freelance career.
Mhm.
It's interesting because when I look at that time, this man, I could blame him and I could say he ruined my life or this was arguably the worst time in my life. But
Mhm.
when I really see it, if things would have been easier, I might have gotten a comfortable job that made good money and maybe I would have been comfortable, but I don't think I would have been fulfilled.
Mhm.
That closed all of the other doors. And entrepreneurship is hard, as most people know.
Mhm.
It has a huge fail rate, and I don't necessarily think it's because of the business itself. It's because people often have one foot in and one foot out. Like, what if this doesn't work? It's not taking
Yeah.
off fast enough. But for me, I had no other options, so I just went hard in one direction. And there
Mhm.
was a lot of ups and downs. At first, I was chasing the wrong things. I was listening to things like smart passive income, and I was like, I could do an e-commerce store. I could do a travel blog. I could do this, and I started all of them, and then it would lose traction. And
Mhm.
um, I was taking action, which was the good thing, but I wasn't getting to the heart of who I was within that business journey, what I came here to do, how I came here to serve. And during that
Passion piece,
time,
that
yeah,
passion piece that we talk about all the time on this podcast. It's so,
exactly.
so, so important. Yeah. Go ahead, Melissa. I didn't mean to
And
interrupt.
starting all of those things without that heart in it, I ended up sort of developing a self-belief that I wasn't the type of person that could follow through on anything. And so I finally got to my point where I was just fed up. And I was like, how, maybe I should do all of the activities in the end of these purpose finding books. And so
Mhm.
I started getting down to what am I endlessly curious about? What does my Audible library and Kindle library say about me? If I could
Mhm.
have conversations with people all the time, what would it be? And I drilled it down to a podcast. That's where I started. I could talk, but I could talk myself out of getting on video at the time, and I could get in my head too much with writing. So I was like, a podcast is it. And then I realized that almost everything that had helped me in my life came back to the power of the mind, even
Mhm.
when it was the surface level understandings. And I just under brought more and more depth through all of my life experiences. And so I started there, launched the podcast, and it took another 6 months till I even had an email list. But because I went so hard, my podcast grew quickly. Within 6 months, I was also speaking at podcast conferences on growth. I ended up just asking people for advice and help. I launched my first digital course a year later, then a membership, then a coaching program. And so, yeah, I'm open to the ways that that the present moment is leading me, which is a lot different from where I started with kind of the pressure to choose the right thing. Now I know with that clarity, I'll be guided to what is meant for me.
Wow. Melissa, that's all I could say is wow. Like, honestly, you have really like been through it. When we talk about kind of like a full circle moment, like your story, your journey is really unbelievable. And I'm hoping that you really will, through this Coffee with Cher podcast, be able to really resonate and help someone who is just going through like a really tough time. Unbelievable. Melissa, with everything that your journey, what you've gone through, the work that you're doing right now with your podcast, what do you feel really sets you apart from others that are in this podcast space?
I think my understanding of resonance through story. And you
Mhm.
said, I hope you can resonate with people. But this has been something that's always intrigued me. And from multiple areas of life, for example, when I first started learning marketing, every good marketer knows that people don't change behavior through facts and features. It's the story. Russell Brunson, one of the well-known marketers. He calls it the epiphany bridge, how people, you share how you came through the conclusion that you want your audience to make. But I've also had weird obsessions. I grew up in a religion that never really felt right to me, and I found my own spiritual path afterwards. But these stories we were told to be taken literally. I developed this obsession into understanding what was happening in the cultures at the time, how they may have been manipulated, and even seeing how stories in all of our holy books across all religions, when you can get down to an almost consciousness technology that they're all saying and even repeating. Some stories show up thousands of years before the most well-known version of it.
Mhm.
And then also with interviewing over 550 people in neuroscience, we find out that what we what shows up as possible for us, what we're even willing to do, is through the story that we're telling ourselves.
Mm.
And so when we understand it through all of these lenses and seeing that we actually understood story as a consciousness technology in, I mean, that's why Greek mythology even existed. It all started, Jesus told parables for a reason. It was always the story. And so when you understand story, you can change your life, you can affect the behavior of other people, you can really co-create your existence in a way that most people don't understand is possible. And so I help people do this through even healing through their story, but also in when you bring that through to the side of, okay, now I have this purpose to fill. How do I bring people with me? How do
Mhm.
you use your story to create that resonance and spark a piece of that transformation to leave them wanting more?
So I am very, very big on storytelling. I mean, that's like really our motto for the PR and the event side. You know, we tell our clients story through mission-driven events and PR campaigns. So I am with you 100%. And I feel like that is really how you resonate with folks, you know? And yeah, this really, really incredible. So Melissa, what's new for you? It's been, how long have you had your podcast now?
I launched it in 2017, so it's been 9 years now almost.
Yeah. Okay. So what's new? What's happening? Anything new you want to share with us, Melissa?
Yeah, I earlier this year, it was interesting. I've actually been trying to write a book for the last 8 years, and I keep getting about 20,000 words in.
Me too. Me too.
And then I'm like, oh, this isn't quite it. And I was like, this feels familiar. It reminds me was when I was trying to figure out my topic. How do I come back to the heart of who I am? And it was interesting because I had an opportunity to do a keynote in January, and I had written the keynote years before, but I did my big public speaking, like 6 month intensive public speaking program in 2019, had all of these gigs lined up, did one of them on the East Coast, was going to go to another one a week later, and the world shut down.
Mhm.
And so I ended up using that time to have some babies, and we moved towns, and it was one of those things where just it felt like a crick in the motivation, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But I was like, now's the time to get back out there. And I just started writing. And my keynote, I was just so proud of my keynote. It really felt like the sum of my story, like the first thing that brought it all together. And with that, combined with a number of other things that I just sort of wrapped up for you with story, it was
Mhm.
like something unlocked in my mind and I couldn't stop. Ended up writing a full-on book in a couple of months. I could not put it down. And this understanding of story in a new way. I had a program last year that was really helpful to people, but I completely transformed it to help people understand their story. And so, like I said, there's kind of those two people that work with me, those to understand what their story is leading them to, and
Mhm.
those that are trying to figure out how to connect their passion or their business to their story in a way that moves people. And so that's what I've been working on this year. And it feels like, when you're in alignment, when the doors just keep opening.
Yes.
And also, when you're in alignment, when just as much as those doors are opening, these roadblocks are falling in your way because it's testing you, testing
Mhm.
how committed you are to this. So I'm kind of right in that middle. Um, Found out I'm pregnant, which we weren't necessarily planning, but it's welcome. We had some losses last year, and I
Right.
was having a hard time choosing it, but I
Mhm.
knew I wanted it, and so it feels like it was given to me right at this time. But again, it's this very busy time in my life, but it's all coming from a place of wholeness and heart, I think.
I love it. I love it. And look, the roadblocks, that is the entrepreneur journey, right? Like there is no entrepreneur on this planet that has not gone through their share of roadblocks. So that is definitely the reality of it. Okay, so we are coming to my favorite question and our last question. And I'm excited to hear your answer, Melissa, just because of your story, right? I'm really excited to hear what you'll share with our Coffee with Share listeners. So, if you could provide some advice for maybe someone who's thinking about starting a business or someone who has started a business that is hitting a bunch of those roadblocks, what kind of advice would you share?
Strip the meaning. And
Mm.
this is where I come back to with anything. I've even been doing this with my pregnancy nausea. So often, what's creating our suffering is not what's actually happening, it's what we think it means. And what we think it means comes from our patterns and our programs and our life experiences. And so I play with this in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I just take out the meaning and just let it be. And all I'm dealing with is this one thing, not what it means. Sometimes I have to pep myself up and say, okay, this means something good. Like I now look at roadblocks, like I expect that resistance because you have to become through the pressure. It's not always easy. You have to prove yourself through this. And so I see those as, yes, I'm on the right track because it feels like the universe is punching me in the face right now. And so play with it depending on what you need in the moment. Play with all of these types of things. When you can strip the meaning, you get out of your mind and into your heart. You just sit with it. And I mentioned that before of, yeah, we're told to like, oh, just tune into yourself. Ask yourself what you really need. If you don't know how to get to the heart of what you need and you're just swarmed with everything you've ever been told, all the thoughts you've let run rampant and unchecked, that's what that stillness is going to be, and it's going to be miserable. So you do
Mm.
have to take the time to understand how to, maybe it's enough stillness to just find peace, to just choose peace with that roadblock. But it'll change your relationship with whatever you're going through.
Hmm. Love that. Love that. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being on our Coffee with Share podcast. Where can everyone find you?
My podcast is on any of your favorite platforms. It's called Mind Love, two words, and you can find me at my website at mindlove.com. There's a contact form if you want to get to the heart of your story. Happy to just hop on a call and hear what you're working with. Sometimes people need to get their story out there, just kind of word vomit it to see is there something in this? And I love doing that with people. So mindlove.com.
Awesome. Melissa, thank you for being here on our Coffee with Share podcast. And for those of you that are listening, we added the podcast on YouTube. So make sure that you guys subscribe, Coffee with Share, and you can find the podcast wherever Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcast. So, mind love, Coffee with Share. Stay in touch with us. And Melissa, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your incredible story. So happy for you that you are just thriving. And thank you for sharing those nuggets with our listeners.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Have a great day.